So this movie was absolutely made by someone who grew up loving the A-Team series and someone who absolutely didn't care if it made any sense, like the A-Team series. And honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of respect that. Welcome to My 3000 Movies. I own 3,000 digital movies, and I'm watching them all alphabetically, one at a time, whether I like it or not, for no reason other than I paid for them. So welcome to episode 1, which is the A-Team from 2010. This is movie number 1 out of 3,000, so we've got a long way to go. For some reason, my digital library doesn't recognize the word "the" in the A-Team alphabetically, probably for good reason, because every movie that starts with "the" wouldn't make any sense. So here we are, the first film in a huge list of A's. And wait till I get to all the films that start with almost in the title, or American for that matter. There is a lot. This is a pretty big commitment to a channel that may end up with less than 100 subscribers. Who knows? But whatever. So the IMDb logline for this movie is: the A-Team is a group of Iraq war veterans looking to clear their name with the U.S. military who suspect the four men of committing a crime for which they were framed. So you have four American soldiers who are sent on a mission to recover plates for printing $100 bills that were used to print $1 billion. After doing the job and returning to the base, their commanding officer is killed in an explosion, and the plates are stolen by another operator. And they are court-martialed and sent to different prisons. 6 months later, the leader, Hannibal Smith, is visited by a CIA spook who tells him he knows where the man who took the plates is and wants him and his men to recover them. So he helps them escape and breaks out the others, and they go after the plates. But after doing it, they discover that the spook might not be on their side. And a military intelligence officer who was romantically involved with Face is actually pursuing them. I think this movie exists because Hollywood in the late 2000s were deep into let's turn every TV show you remember into a gritty blockbuster. You got Transformers, 2 G.I. Joes, and of course the A-Team. And the goal wasn't nostalgia accuracy, it was scale. And honestly, this one might be the most self-aware of the bunch. The film is based, of course, on the 1983 TV show of the same name, who made Mr. T a household name. The film stars Liam Neeson as Hannibal, Bradley Cooper as Face, Charlton Copley as Murdoch, former UFC fighter Quentin Rampage Jackson as Mr. T's B.A. Baracus, and Jessica Biel as Carissa Sosa, who is after the A-Team, and a few other really surprising actors that I completely forgot were in this movie, like Patrick Wilson, Gerald McRaney, and an uncredited role from John Hamm that seems to set up a sequel that would never come to light due to the lack of the film's success. It's directed by Joe Carnahan, who directed 26's Smoking Aces, which, strangely, I don't think is in my library. And he directed last year's Shadow Force, which I also really didn't care to see, and I didn't even review it for my movie review channel. Apparently, there have been a lot of attempts since the mid-'80s to get this film made. Sylvester Stallone was once attached to direct and to actually play Hannibal at one time. And when that fell through, he made his own A-Team movie, in a sense, The Expendables. John Singleton was originally going to direct the 2010 film, and he says the original cast would have included Mel Gibson as Hannibal, Christian Bale as Face, Jim Carrey as Murdoch, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as B.A. Baracus. And I kind of wish I could have seen that version, honestly. I think Singleton could have pulled it off, maybe. I don't know. So multiple scripts, studios, tones, and modern reboots came and went. And at different points, it was imagined as a straight military thriller, a gritty post-9/11 war film, and at once a full-on comedy. But nothing really stuck until Joe Carnahan came in and said, what if it's loud? What if it's fun? And what if it knows that it's absolutely ridiculous, like the original series? So Joe Carnahan basically rewrote the movie to save it. The script he inherited was darker and more grounded, and Carnahan rewrote it to embrace the cartoon logic of the original show, lean into over-the-top action physics, make the characters fun again instead of serious operators. And that now famous flying tank scene was actually his idea because the show had this over the top nonsensical attitude. And so the mindset was if they can do it in a TV show, we can do it in a movie, just louder. So watching it again, I was actually surprised by how confidently stupid it really is. And I do mean that as a compliment. The TV show was ridiculous and in a world where logic and physics don't seem to exist. But that was the 80s with shows like Knight Rider, The Dukes of Hazzard, Miami Vice. And if you grew up in the 80s like I did, you get it. And this film, I think, plays off of that 80s kids nostalgia. And I think that this is who this movie is for. It's also for people who I feel like Ethan Hawke put it best. There's some people who love, filet mignon, beef Wellington, and a lot of people don't like that. But everybody loves a hot dog. Everybody will eat a hot dog. And this movie is a hot dog. But because it is catered to those 80s kids, maybe that's why it failed. I enjoyed the sort of prequel at the beginning of the film where the characters are introduced and sort of show you how they meet and get you into the mindset that this film is going to really heavily rely on coincidences. So just let them fall on you like a spring rain. Like, for example, every team member just happens to be in Mexico at the beginning of the movie, all in some sort of trouble all at the same time, leading them all to one point to explain the backstory that the series didn't, as far as I know, actually address. It took me a while to dive into this movie. I really procrastinated hard for some reason. I didn't remember watching this movie the first time in theaters, and I really wasn't excited to see this again. And I can't tell you why I bought this movie, probably because of nostalgia, but I have no clue why it's in my library. From the beginning of the film where Hannibal is handcuffed to a chair by the Mexican police officers and is left to be eaten by dogs, and the way he moves into the shadows where you don't see how he not only escapes the handcuffs, but handcuffs the dogs together. So after that, I put the movie on pause for a few weeks. And when I picked it back up where I left off, because I was trying to drown out the sound of my neighbor's insanely loud party and their obnoxious dog, I really kind of got into it and found myself enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would have. Except the fact that they destroy that iconic A-Team van within the first 18 minutes of the film. I get what the director was doing, but by destroying the audience's idea of what this new version was supposed to be compared to the original film doesn't make sense, because what they do, the ridiculousness of it is very close to the original show. So I don't know why they had to get rid of the van. I don't know. So what works and what doesn't? Let's talk about what works. First of all, the cast. Liam Neeson as Hannibal is, to me, perfect. And I honestly can't picture anyone else in this role. With Neeson coming off of Taken and sort of already looking like a modern-day version of George Papard's character from the show, this seemed like a great casting. Bradley Cooper is also absolutely weaponized, charmed in this movie, coming off of The Hangover. He has this comedic charm that just comes naturally to the actor. He was, to me, the most fun to watch in the film, and I love everything that he does. He's amazing at comedy, and of course, as a dramatic actor, he has an amazing range of acting skill. He apparently really got into the weapons training for the film and enjoyed it. And again, I can't think of a better person to portray Face. Now, Quentin Rampage Jackson, he is fun to watch, but he has the most difficult role to pull off. Anything he does is going to be compared to not only the iconic character that I watched the show for as a kid, but to the actor who was the character in Attitude and Image, Mr. T. I think that it comes really close to an almost impersonation, but it's not Jackson's fault. And for what he does in the role, I think he balances it pretty well and tries to make it his own. I did like the fact that they made him a pacifist in the second act, and I like that angle. It was funny. And Charlton Copley as Murdoch is Murdoch. He brings this level of crazy that encapsulates Murdoch with also the intelligence of the character and pulls off some really funny moments in the film. Copley was unforgettable in District 9, and there's something about his chameleon-type acting that reminds me of Gary Oldman in a lot of ways. I'd like to see him in more films, and I honestly sort of forgot about him. Where did he go? I know that he was in Witcher, but I hadn't seen much of him. Another thing I think they got right was the look of the film and the feel of the film. From the ridiculous nonstop action with a quick break for exposition and the trial of the A-Team that does kind of slow the film down a bit, to the Easter eggs and call-outs to the original cast and original show. Even though it was pretty cheesy, I did secretly like the tattoos on BA's knuckles that say pity on one hand and full on the other, even though Mr. T didn't say the phrase "I pity the fool" in the show and represents his character Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. It became the phrase that helped make Mr. T iconic. And it was cool, if you're a Star Trek fan, to see the fake credits for the 3D movie in the psych ward during Murdoch's escape. The movie being the greatest escape set to the A-Team music, but referencing the original cast's other roles in shows and movies like Reginald Barclay from Dwight Schultz's character on The Next Generation, and of course, Dirk Benedict's role as Starbuck on Battlestar Galactica. Lots and lots of fun Easter eggs if you're into the original cast and show. And it's a lot of fun. So what doesn't work? The plot is, let's call it, aggressively unnecessary. Double crosses, triple crosses, CIA crosses. At a certain point, I stopped following the story and just trusted the vibes of the movie. Also, this movie really wants to be Mission Impossible sometimes, but emotionally, it's still the A-Team, which is great. A lot of the ridiculousness is a lot of fun, including the tank scene, but some of it is so unbelievable and illogical that it's almost insulting to the audience at times. Going back to the scene in the mental hospital where Murdoch handing out 3D glasses to a 3D movie where the truck is coming at you on screen, and then you see the truck actually break through the actual wall of the hospital seem really unnecessary, making you think, why did the A-Team go through all that trouble to do this? Why the movie at all? I get it. It's supposed to be funny and campy, but man, it was really kind of dumb. The movie made a lot of mistakes during production that you can see in the film, like the barbecue scene where Murdoch is cooking, and then you see him antagonizing BA with a puppet, but then cuts back to him grilling behind face again, like he had never moved. And the movie is full of really lazy goofs. When the A-Team are parachuting in the tank, Murdoch can be seen wearing a gray t-shirt with the name Donna imprinted on it. The name actually disappears and then it reappears a couple times while they're parachuting back to Earth. And when escaping in Germany, the Hummer's left rear tire is shot out, but after they smash through the airport guard shack, the right rear tire is blown out and the left rear is fine. And there are so many not only production goofs, but goofs that could have been researched, like the team prepares a bulletproof helmet by melting Kevlar. And Kevlar, like all aromatic polymers, does not have a melting temperature. Heating the Kevlar would only damage the polymer. Or when they're taking the airbags out of the cars that go off on this floating cargo crate, you have to have some sort of igniter for the airbags, and they wouldn't hold up that weight anyway. And then they deflate right after they inflate in a car. So they go on and on and on. And again, was it on purpose? It does feel like that's a move they would make in the show, something so unrealistic and stupid. What really doesn't work is the insane amount of CGI. There is a lot that looks so bad. Like pretty much all of the cargo scenes on the docks and all that goes down at the docks that wraps up the film, it's really hard to watch. But when it comes to CGI, as bad as it looks, there is one scene that explains everything you need to know about this movie. And they actually used a lot of practical effects too. If you only watch one scene from this movie, it is the tank falling from the sky scene. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. Physics called, and it would like a word with you. But it perfectly explains the entire movie's philosophy. Would this be cool? Yes. Great. Do it. That's the A-Team mindset. And even with bad blue screen, it's forgivable for this movie. The main thing that bothered me about this film, though, was the Arab character. For one, not really PC to have a character be called the Arab. Second of all, this character shows up out of nowhere in the third act, and he's treated like someone who's in disguise, not seeing close-ups of his face, shooting him from behind, and he doesn't really say anything, and he really walks very stiff. Why? because he's General Morrison in disguise. He was killed in the first act. It was so obvious. I did enjoy seeing Gerald McRaney on screen again, but man, that was really hard to watch. What a weird plot twist execution. This film felt all kinds of lazy in places. The scene that almost breaks the movie for me is the courtroom and exposition heavy middle section of the movie. It kind of loses me here, not because it's really bad, but because this movie is best when it's moving and not explaining. Anytime it slows down to justify itself, it slightly betrays its own strengths. Jessica Biel's character really didn't do much in this movie, but pushed the movie toward a resolution. I felt that her character was lacking a lot of depth and just a reason for me to care about her, despite the fact that she is Face's love interest. She's kind of like the character Colonel Francis Lynch from the TV show, who was pretty much chasing after the A-Team in every episode. And in the movie, Patrick Wilson's character, the CIA spook, is actually named Lynch. And John Hamm, at the end of the film, is also named Lynch. And that's, again, supposed to set up the sequel, but I don't know why they went that route. I mean, I don't know. So there is a ton of trivia around this movie, and you can find some on IMDb. You can Google it. But here's just a few that I found that I thought were kind of cool. Sharlto Copley, for one, was a huge fan of the A-Team. But his mom wouldn't let him watch the show because it was too violent, even though no one got killed. So he'd hide a tape recorder behind his parents' TV so he could at least record the audio while his parents watched the show. Number two, the opening credit sequence runs 20 minutes and takes up the entire first reel on 35mm prints. Appropriately, the reel ends with the film's title, The A-Team. Number three, this movie was in development hell for like 20 years, longer than some wars. Number four, director Joe Carnahan rewrote the script to be intentionally ridiculous. The goal was live action cartoon and not gritty realism, which explains a lot, but the movie is kind of dark and kind of gritty at times. It felt like it couldn't decide which one it wanted to be. Number five, the flying tank scene. That was Carnahan's idea, and he fought to keep it in. The studio said it was insane, and he said, that is the movie. Number six, Bradley Cooper wasn't the obvious pick for Face. He trained with real military consultants and helped rewrite his own dialogue to make Face smoother, faster, more sarcastic, but they actually wanted to go a few different other ways with Face. Like one of them was Ryan Reynolds. This movie helped lock in Liam Neeson as a full-time action star. Post Taken, Hollywood went, what if we put him in everything we do? And right now he is in everything that every B movie does. It's kind of hard to watch. Except Naked Gun. Naked Gun was pretty great. Next on the list, Sharlto Copley. Man, that's a really hard name to say. I don't know why I keep messing it up. He based Murdoch on real pilots under extreme stress, using humor as a coping mechanism. So, yes, he's nuts, but also terrifyingly competent. Next, the tank wasn't 100% CGI. They built real tank sections, used rigs and practical effects, then added CGI to finish the insanity. The original Face and Murdoch, Dirk Benedict, and Dwight Schultz pushed for their cameos as a passing the torch moment, but then regretted it right after the film was shot. Their scenes were put in the theatrical release as in-credit scenes, but actually put back in the extended release as actual scenes, which the Murdoch electric shock treatment therapy scene works really well in my opinion, but the cameos I could have take or left. Mr. T outright refused a cameo, and his reasoning was, I'm not going to let anybody replace me. And honestly, that is fair. This movie was designed as the start of a franchise. Sequels were planned, scripts were discussed, but the box office didn't move fast enough. And Hollywood said, we love you as a cult classic, but that's pretty much it. With a budget of $110 million and grossing $177 million worldwide, it made money, but not enough to warrant a sequel, apparently, especially when it only made $77 million domestically. So did this movie age badly? Well, watching this now, I like it more than I did in 2010, I think, from what I remember. But back then, I do remember that I wanted it to be smarter, I guess, and maybe more serious. But now, I appreciate that it just wants to entertain me for 2 hours and then just leave. I didn't remember how bad the CGI was at the time, but maybe it just aged, or 2010 wasn't really a good year for CGI. This is a perfect Saturday afternoon cable movie, full of energy, even though cable barely exists anymore. So now here's a few reviews from Amazon from people just like me and you to give us some insight into why people love or hate or are indifferent to this film. And yes, I know they do this same segment on How Did This Get Made, but the odds of that amazing group watching my channel, it's probably less than zero. So here we go. We're going to do it. And by the way, they do it a lot better. It's funnier. This is more informational. And you should go check out How Did This Get Made. It's an amazing podcast, one of my favorites. It's 5 stars. Go check it out. So number 1 out of 5 stars, not worth your time, do not watch. I love TheATeam on TV. It was funny, it had guns, but no one ever got killed. And they had likable characters. This movie by Joe Carnahan is an abomination. I hope George Peppard was dead before this movie came out. First, while there are many fine actors in this movie, their talents were wasted. They play characters you hope get killed, and the bad guys win. These are very, very unlikable people. Second, this movie wants to be an action comedy. What it is a 3-day warmed over barf from a microwave. There is not many funny parts to the show, and all the gags are signaled well ahead of it happening. Might as well rewatch The Fast and the Furious for the 10th time. That's how telegraphed this show is. Third, I personally found the character development here somewhat racist. They make the same stereotypical jokes about various nationalities. I would avoid this movie if at all possible. If you do want to watch TheATeam, find a couple of episodes of the old TV show. That was entertaining. The next one reads 5 out of 5 stars. A is for awesome. When I heard that TheATeam was being made into a movie, I thought, terrible idea. Yeah, I loved the TV show when I was a kid, but it was very silly. And making an A-Team movie? And with Liam Neeson? I like the guy a lot, but seeing him play Hannibal? How's that going to work? And could I tolerate anyone besides Mr. T as B.A.? I thought not, but I was wrong. This movie is one of my all-time favorite action movies. Tons and tons of creative action. Also lots of humor, especially from Charlton Copley, who plays Murdoch and steals the show. But all the guys are great. Even the plot and script are rather good. And Jessica Biel was in it. That's a plus. She's not the most brilliant actress, but she's smoking hot and good for the part she plays. I rather liked her in this film. The level of violence, I'd say PG-13 is a fair rating. Unlike in the TV show, the people who got shot in the film actually die. That's one thing that cracked me up, even as a kid in the show. A zillion bullets are fired each episode and no one gets shot. A word about the unrated extended cut. There isn't a huge amount of difference between that one and the theatrical PG-13 version. Some extra language, a bit more violent. That's all I can remember that is different. I usually just watch the theatrical version. Okay then, if you want a crazily entertaining movie, watch this now. And the last one, 5 out of 5 stars. I love this movie. I love this movie, and I will be watching this movie over and over again because TheATeam is one of the best movies I've ever seen. That is bold, sir, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. So the final verdict, where does TheATeam 2010 land for me? For me, this is a rewind. Not because it's great cinema, but because it knows exactly what it is, and it delivers, and I actually enjoyed it. But at the same time, I like this movie in pieces instead of as the whole. If it's playing in the background while I'm working, yeah, maybe I'll stop and watch a few scenes and ignore the parts that I, didn't like or didn't hit me. But does it belong in my digital library, or should I delete it from the catalog and just catch it on cable? I think I'll hold on to it just for nostalgia. Will I ever get around to watching it again out of the 3,000 films that I own? Probably not, but you never know. But if you agree or violently disagree, tell me in the comments. I'd love to get your take on this wild film. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of, what I'm doing here. And you can also email me. Email me a long take on this film. So next on the list in the A's, Number 2, episode 2, is 2001's Steven Spielberg sci-fi adventure AI, starring Jude Law, Haley Joel Osment, which I think with all of the AI controversy and technology going on today, this is a great film to rewatch. I haven't seen this film since I saw it in theaters in 2001, and from what I remember, it was pretty heartbreaking, but I don't remember how it ended or what happened. So watch it with me. You can find it on most digital platforms or even better on DVD. And if you're watching this 3000 movie experience with me, we haven't even scratched the surface. So like and subscribe, and let's watch these together. And I'll see you in episode 2.